All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us and welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Tom Levine. I am Cornerstone's technical specialist. And today we're going to be talking about securing your emails with Zix. Before we get into it though, just a little bit of housekeeping. First, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to put them in the chat window. That'll be under questions. We'll answer questions at the end of the presentation, but if I find them relevant, I might answer them in the middle of it. So feel free to just type questions whenever you have one. Also, one other thing to note is that I do have a downloadable PDF for you. That is actually some promotional material from Zix, and you might find it helpful to kind of illustrate what exactly Zix is and how you can utilize it. So I'd recommend downloading that as well. That should be by the questions box. It should be like in the handouts area below. Also, don't forget to connect with us online. You can follow us on social media and subscribe to our weekly Monday Minute newsletter for the latest in Cornerstone, carrier, and industry updates. Also, if you have a question that you just don't feel comfortable asking during the webinar, or maybe something that you might need to get a little bit more of a detailed explanation on, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My email address is displayed on screen, and I'll show this at the end of the presentation as well, so no need to copy it down right now. And I also have my phone number displayed as well. That's 513-487-5390. Also, if you haven't yet, don't forget to sign up for AGB. It's our new and improved broker portal, and it's now available for all our brokers as your one-stop shop for managing your book of business through Cornerstone, from carrier and client information to commission schedules. If you have any questions about the new platform and your access, please reach out to your broker advisor or the AGB support team. Also, with Cornerstone's agency services program, you're the pilot of your business and we're your flight crew. As a Cornerstone broker, you have access to expert services from our agency services program that help you with business outside of your scope or planning for the future. We will create a customized plan for you based on your specific needs to ensure that your business and your family are covered, and you can contact your Cornerstone representative for more information. That being said, let's talk about Zix and secure emails. And specifically, there are three things that I'd like to get into today. First, what exactly is Zix? Second, how do we use it here at Cornerstone? And third is how you can use it as a broker. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, to help with point one of what I mentioned, understanding secured email, I think it's kind of important to understand what email is and how we use it and kind of how it works. So we're going to briefly touch on this. Please excuse some of the tech jargon. First off, email is just short for electronic mail. It's mail sent online over the internet, and it uses the electronics to send that mail. It's actually kind of simple to understand what an email is. All it is, as far as an account is concerned, is a username, a domain, and a domain extension. Username, typically, if we're using my email as an example, it'd be Levine is my user ID. Then the domain is at CRNstone, which is the name of the server we run, and then .ext, which is the extension. In our case, for my email address, that'd be .com. Think about any email that you've ever used. It's always had those three sections, and those three parts are key to how the system figures out where to direct mail. First, you start at your mail client, which is whatever you use to draft and send emails. This would be something like Outlook. It could be something as simple as using Gmail, or maybe even Yahoo Message or Yahoo email. When you hit send on that email, that message is then sent to the SMTP server, which is a nice acronym for Sender Mail Transfer Protocol Server. Think of it like the outbox if you're sending a physical letter. All this does is it makes sure that your letter or your email has basic stuff on it, where it's going to go and who sent it. As long as that checks out, it goes to the DNS server. DNS server is something that you utilize even if you don't own personally to send an email. It's basically the name of the website that you use to kind of send and receive email. So for Cornerstone, that's crnstone.com. That's also, coincidentally, the domain we use for our website, www.crnstone.com. And that isn't by coincidence. We use the same website to route our email as we do to host our web page. After that, the DNS server looks at where you're sending it. So this would be the email address of, whoever you're sending your message to. It converts that domain part of your email, which I'm going to underline here, into numbers, which is an address that other servers on the internet can figure out and know, okay, I got to send the message here. Once it has that, boom, your message gets sent. But it gets sent as packets of data, and that'll be important for the next slide. Basically, instead of sending the full message all at once, your message gets broken up into a lot of little pieces and sent piece by piece to the recipient's server, their domain. Once it's there, it goes to a MTA server, which is just their version of your mail transfer agent. Think of it as their actual mailbox to their house. And then that gets directed from there to their user account, and from their user account to whatever they use to access it. So that'd be their version of Outlook or Yahoo or Gmail. Whatever you use, that's kind of generally how email works. So with that being said, what makes it unsecure? Well, remember, we're sending things as packets of data, and that is kind of where secure email comes in. So a secure email is sent basically the exact same way as a normal email. The only difference is where things are routed to and a level of encryption. Basically, when you send an email through an encrypted email service, what happens is whatever service you're using to direct email says, oh, they're sending this securely. I need to add encryption. What that does is kind of jumbles up everything that's within the letter, so it's unreadable. That includes with attachments. Then it slaps on a header, which is the address that we mentioned before, where your email is going. And then it also wraps all that together in the little packets, and then it gets sent to whatever service you're using to send the secure email. It goes directly to a server on their side. That server then looks at the header information, says, okay, it's going here, and then sends out a notice to them, your recipient. Your recipient gets a little notice in their inbox. This is, hey, you've got a secure email. They click on that link, directs them to the secured mail service, and they then connect directly to the secured email server to read your message. Now, one thing to note is that the service that's providing this typically doesn't actually see the contents of the message either. All they see is that address information. So they know where to send that notice to, hey, you've got a secure inbox, or a secure message that someone's trying to get you to read. And that's basically the only real difference. So it's a difference between how the packets get directed and an added layer of encryption. While I'd like to get into more of the details of encryption, I've actually done that before from a previous webinar, maybe a year or so ago, and I'd recommend checking that out as well if you're curious. Suffice it to say that basically it's a numerical key that only you and your recipient have that lets only you and your recipient read your message. It's actually very important because unless you're sending emails securely that include private health information, or like maybe a social security number that's visible, which can violate high-tech and HIPAA. That being said, there are two types of encryption and two different types of secure email providers. I've already kind of mentioned end-to-end encryption, which is where a message is encrypted on both ends, maintaining security. What that basically means is when you send your message, like I described, it goes to the secure email server. That server sends out a notice, then they have to log in and decrypt the message to actually view it. However, one-way encryption is very similar to kind of what I put up on the last slide and didn't talk about, a VPN. Now, a public-facing VPN or a personal VPN, whatever you prefer to call it, would be something where you just log in and you're basically browsing the internet from that server. That's one-way encryption. What it does is it encrypts the traffic or whatever messages or information you're sending back and forth between you and your VPN provider. Your VPN provider will then, browse the internet, do all of the things it normally does in an unsecured way. So even though you as the end user are being protected, your traffic is being encrypted, no one can see it if they're looking at your data being sent back and forth. Anyone monitoring the data being sent from that company server will be able to see, oh, it rolls back to this VPN. End-to-end encryption is a little different. Instead of just having that encryption layer on messages that you're sending to that secured server, it'll actually encrypt messages going out of that to another party, which is where those email notices that I mentioned before comes in. That's kind of end-to-end encryption, and it's why there's a difference between a corporate VPN and, say, a personal VPN for private use for browsing the internet. So now that we kind of understand generally what email is, kind of what security with encryption is, what is Zix? Well, Zix is a secured mail service provider. It utilizes end-to-end encryption on its own private servers, and it uses that to send and receive email. Now, Zix was actually acquired by OpenText Security Solutions about a year or so ago, I believe, and it is now bundled with something called Carbonite, which is a cloud backup service, along with WebRoot email protection or encryption and threat bundled protection service. Now, that's actually a pretty useful service, and there are other companies you can utilize that provide very similar functions. We're talking about Zix today mostly because Cornerstone uses Zix, and Cornerstone's been a valuable partner of Zix for quite some time. We use them to secure our mail because not only can you send encrypted emails with Zix, you can also receive encrypted emails from people who don't have a Zix subscription. And we're going to be getting into how to utilize that functionality today to send us secure email and to utilize it when you're emailing your clients. Now, the other thing I'd like to say is that, Zix is a really useful tool. I've personally not had a problem with it, and mostly that's because of their outstanding customer service. They're very easy to work with, and it's why we've been using them for years. But like I said, they're not the only service out there. There are some cheaper solutions, and if you're interested in Zix, it might be worth your time to look into something like Microsoft 365 encryption as well. So, how do you use Zix as a broker, and how do we use Zix here on Cornerstone side? Well, for Cornerstone side, if I'm sending an email, all I have to do is make sure that it's marked for secure delivery. That means that my email gets routed through Zix, and you get a message that looks something like this. It'll be like New Zix Corp, secure message from Cornerstone, and then you'll be able to click that open message icon, which is right about here, to open the secure email. If you click on it, then you get directed to a login page on Zix site. Now, as it says throughout this email, if clicking that link does not work, you can also click a direct link down here, which kind of sends you directly to the message as well. And if you are curious about Zix, then you can also click there to learn more from any security email we send. We're going to go ahead and erase those drawings and move on to the next slide. Once you click on that link and get directed, you get to this login portal that I mentioned. Now, it's pretty easy to use. If you've already logged in, you just enter your email address and password and hit sign in. That's so Zix knows that you're the person actually accessing the email, and make sure that if someone's monitoring your email account, for example, and says, oh, I'll follow that link and read that secure message, they have to enter another password to actually get in, which makes things a little more secure. If you've not used Zix before, however, and this is your first time receiving a secured message from us, then you're going to want to click on this registration link down here. All that does is it lets you enter your email address, set up a password. You'll get another little security notice saying, hey, you just created a Zix account, can you confirm? You'll confirm there, and then you'll be able to sign in. You can also click Remember Me right in here to make sure that you get remembered by Zix service. So when you click on those links again, you'll already have your email address entered. You can also reset your password from this link if you've forgotten it by clicking on the Forgot Your Password link, and you get a direct link to Zix support desk if you click on that help section below. That said, once you log in, you'll be able to see the email that got sent. And this is the sample email that I sent to myself using Zix Security. Now, the reason that I'm doing this via email slides and not just using my Zix Secure email is because my personal Zix email has a lot of other messages back and forth brokers in there, and I'd rather not display those on a webinar. So please excuse the slide-by-slide format for this. Once you get an email from Zix and you're logged in to view it, you can see attachments labeled right down here. Now, in this sample email, all that's attached are images. This is image 2, 4, 1, 3, and 5. And the reason that you're getting that as attachments is because it doesn't actually translate images that are, embedded into your email natively. You have to click this little show images icon, and then it'll show them. Cornerstone uses kind of custom email signatures. Each of those images correspond to these little disabled image links down here. If you click on show images, then this attachment section would vanish. So if you get a secure email from us and it has all those image attachments, don't worry about it, that's fine. All that really means is that you have the images that are shown separately from whatever the attachments are. If you click on that, it'll go away. You'll be able to see everything normally, as you would from your personal email. You can also reply directly from right up here. Reply all if there's a lot of different recipients on there by clicking that button. And you can even forward the secure message onto someone else if you'd like. You can also delete the message by using this option down here. And you can also separately save attachments by clicking on that link there. You could also click on the individual attachments directly and you'd be able to download them as well. But let's say you want to make sure that you can save this view of this screen, make sure you have all the email threads attached, and you want to save the attachments. Well, you'd click on either Save Message or Save Attachments, and then you would get something that looks a little bit like this from Zix. Now, what that is it's just a normal browser window, and it lets you kind of view where files are on your desktop. You can find one on your desktop or within your network and save the files to there. It saves the actual emails as text files, so if there's anything malicious embedded in there, it'll make sure that's stripped out, and then you can save each of the individual attachments separately or save them as a zipped up folder if you just click the download attachments link that I mentioned before. So getting out of that, let's say you wanted to reply and attach your own files to that reply. Well, that's pretty easy too. First, you'd click that reply button that I showed back here. That'd be right in this section. And then you'd hit the attach file icon, which is right in here under the compose window. Now, one thing that I will note that you're seeing here is it doesn't actually let you add any other recipients if you just hit reply to that message. In order to actually get a new message, which we'll show here in a minute, it's a slightly different process to add other recipients. But for now, if you're just hitting reply or reply all, everything will populate automatically, and you'll just have to attach the attachments and type your message in this section below down here. Once you hit attach file, you just find the attachment you want to include, select it, hit open, and then it'll show your attachment right there under attachments. It'll even prompt you to remove the file if you have to, which is pretty useful. You can also then, type in your sample email and your secure reply as well. Once you're ready to send it, just hit send and it'll send out. Now you can also compose new emails here, and this is true even if you don't have a native Zix account. Really, this is to facilitate forwarding of secure emails from all within Zix's service. It's pretty useful, but as a Cornerstone broker, if we sent you an email, you then have the right to compose and send emails with Zix as well as one of our respondents. So you can just hit compose, and it'll open up this full window. You'll be able to type in all of the addresses for who you want to send to, and also CC anyone else, as well as including a custom subject line and attaching things the exact same way that I mentioned before. But it's pretty straightforward. If you used any other sort of email service before, it works pretty much exactly like that. You just hit compose, new email, send it. That being said, if you start composing a message and you're not really done with it before you exit out and sign out of Zix, then all you have to do is save it as a draft. Your Zix inbox will automatically save that draft and have it secured separately right in this section here on their web portal. Now, one other thing that Zix lets you do is also add contacts from within Zix. Like I said before, it's not your direct messaging service. So it's not like if you have Outlook and you're, utilizing secure email, you'll be able to just send that email to whoever you want automatically, securely, if you're just, a client using Zix. So that'd be like if we send you an email using Zix and you open it up, you can't just send a reply to it directly from Outlook. You have to use Zix's windows. Well, if you go into contacts and you want to make sure you're adding contacts repetitively or, utilizing them regularly, then you can add them here. All you have to do is hit contacts in this upper section, then go to new contact right there. And it'll prompt you to enter a new contact. You enter their first name, their last name, their email address, hit save, and then go back to contacts, and it will look exactly like this. They'll be added. From there, you can select multiple contacts and hit mail to send new emails or forward things on. So that being said, what makes it such a good option? Well, it's a secure messaging service that lets your users, reply directly to you, also draft messages, and really utilize it on their end as well. Cornerstone utilizes it specifically because of its ease of use and because our brokers have the ability to access it and send emails too, because we utilize Zix and they then, send emails out of it. You should be able to contact your clients directly by using the Zix portal as well, based on what we provide. But let's just say that you want your own package of Zix. What would that look like? What do they provide and what's their pricing look like? Well, for an annual package, it costs about $900 just for the secure email. Now, they also have additional features that you can add on for a larger package. If you're just utilizing Zix, you can do it through pretty much any email account. It doesn't have to be on a domain you own. It can also be with Gmail, Yahoo, pretty much anything because, like I said, their service is run through their server. Doesn't really matter what email address you're telling it to forward your messages to. But with their advanced service, what they add is basically antivirus service. They'll be able to scan any incoming emails you've got, figure out, how to filter out anything that looks like a phishing email and other things of that nature too if you get the added support. That has an annual cost of $1,020. Now that fits for the first 9 contracts, and after that, for the number of users, it adds on additional fees. So for the next 10 users you add, or 10 to 24 users, it'll be an additional 90 annually. Then the next 25 to 100 will be an additional 75. And then the next 101 to 250, if you're running a large enterprise, will run you about $75 annually. They do provide some services that are pretty useful, and I'm going to kind of lay out what exactly all of this means because it's a lot of tech jargon. I had to look it up too. Gateway encryption is just a security proxy service. It's basically that email thing that you get that says, hey, you have a secured email. You click on it, it'll open up an encrypted, message that sends you directly to your email login. That's the first thing that we viewed. Secure hosted branded portal, exact same thing. It's just talking about how you have a secure way to log in and it has your branding information on it. Email classification filters are kind of what I was just talking about. You can build and filter emails, so you can say internal, external, or even spam filters as well. Then there's DLP quarantine. And what that does is it basically lets you prevent certain type of data from getting sent out. So let's say you don't want people sending your finance spreadsheets out. DLP quarantine lets you set that up and make it so anything that contains specific types of filters, specific types of information, go to that, quarantine area first for your review before it gets sent. It's useful if you've got several employees under you and you don't know what they'll be sending out to clients. Then there's DKIM, which all it is a service that basically verifies that the sender of a message is authorized. This is something you'd get with that advanced service, kind of like I mentioned before. And what it does is it just makes sure that the sender of the message matches up exactly to what that sender field says. A lot of times what hackers will do is they'll kind of take over an email address and then send messages from that email address without actually being logged in or being that user. What DKIM does is it makes sure that that person who sent that message from that user account is actually the authorized user. And then finally, there's Xheader support, which basically just says it supports customized email headers. That's really all it is. It's just fancy terminology for it. But that's Zix pricing if you're interested in getting the same service for yourself. Although as a Cornerstone broker, you can use Zix exactly how I outlined below, free of charge, just by emailing us, then forwarding emails through Zix onto clients or communicating using that secured Zix portal. And if you have any questions, sorry, forgot to erase the drawings, please feel free to contact Dustin Harrison. Dustin is our sales representative over at Zix. And if you have any additional questions on pricing or other kinds of packages or how to integrate things into your service, please feel free to give him a call or send him an email. He's very responsive and I enjoy working with him directly. Also, you can contact Zix support directly if things aren't appearing right on your Zix portal, or you can reach out to us directly as well, and we can reach out to them for you. Zix support phone is 1-888-576-4949, and their online address is https support.zixcorp.com. They're a really useful service, and Cornerstone's utilized them for a while for a reason. They're very good, they have great customer service, and they're very quality. That being said, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the question box now or send it to me in chat, and I'm here to answer anything else that you might need. Thank you very much for attending Tech Tuesday. And let me go ahead and put up my contact information as well, just so you have that if you need it. Thank you.